Welcome to the SARS Readiness program for tax practitioners. This is module 6 of 8, use of eFiling system. At the end of this module, you are expected to understand how to add a tax practitioner portfolio to your existing eFiling profile, understand how to add clients to your tax practitioner portfolio, understand how to allocate user rights to those making use of your tax practitioner portfolio. So the first thing that you would need to do is you would need to log on to the SARS eFiling website, which is www.sarsefiling.co.za. You click on login, you enter your username and your password. Once you've done that, you click on My Profile, then click on Portfolio Management. So on the Portfolio Management screen, this is where you would now go and add on your new tax practitioner portfolio. So you would click on Add Portfolio. You would then select the portfolio name. And then from the drop down, you would select Tax Practitioner Portfolio. Please remember that as a tax practitioner, you should only be opening up a new tax practitioner portfolio and not an organizational portfolio. Tax practitioner portfolios has been specifically customized to suit the needs of practitioners. So please bear that in mind. Once you've done that, you then say Add Portfolio. You will now receive a message to state that the portfolio has now successfully been added. You can then click OK. On the following screen, you would now see that the new portfolio will have been added is now laying at the bottom, and it now needs to be linked to your portfolio. So once you've linked that, you can then say Go to Portfolio. Then you click on Organizations, which is on your top screen. Then click again on Organizations on your left-hand side. Then you click on Register New. And then you can now register a new client. So on the screen, it will ask you firstly the type of entity that you wish to register. Is it individual? Is it a company? You would select whichever one is applicable. You will then add in the necessary details. You will then say add portfolio, add taxpayer. If the taxpayer that you are adding already exists on the portfolio, it will tell you that you are trying to add a taxpayer that already exists on this portfolio. Then click on View Taxpayer. If the taxpayer you are adding already exists on a different portfolio, you will get a warning message. This message will read, click Add Taxpayer if you wish to register the taxpayer on this portfolio. Then click on Add Taxpayer. After adding the taxpayer, you must then add the taxpayer to the group by selecting a group name and then clicking Continue. So on the screen over here, you can see you can actually have different group names. So you have your default one, which is automatically there. And then you can put your clients into an administration, a VAT submissions group, a pay-as-you-earn submissions group. So whichever group you want to create, you can do it as well. So let's say, for argument's sake, you deal with certain clients that's based in Gauteng. You'll perhaps have a group that's called Gauteng clients, and then slot all your Gauteng clients into that group. If you are happy, you then click Continue. So now you need to add a tax type to your new client. So what you'll do now is you'll click on Manage Tax Types to activate the tax types of the entity. So you click on Manage Tax Types. It will now give you a list. So on this list over here, you would now see the reference numbers, the activation status, the action that can be selected, whether you want to activate it or if you want to deactivate it. So in the event that you want to activate a tax type, you would then click on Activate in the little block and you click Submit. Select the tick boxes for the applicable action required. For example, you are requesting an activation or you are requesting a tax type transfer, and then click Submit and Continue. The status of the request will now change to waiting authorization and will require the current taxpayer or the representative of the tax number to authorize the request via SARS website in order to complete the process. So what that means is, if it is that you are registering or adding an individual to your portfolio, that individual will receive notification from SARS to state that you are trying to add them to your portfolio. They need to go onto the website and then verify that that is correct. If it is that you are adding a company, the registered representative will then receive the communication to state that you are requesting either a tax type transfer or that you are trying to add them onto your portfolio. Now, please bear in mind, when we're saying a registered representative is the public officer of the company or the accounting officer of the company. Please make sure that it is activated on the SARS system that this is the correct representative or the public officer. Otherwise, the transaction will not go through. So once you've done that, you can then say Continue. If the taxpayer or the representative authorizes the request to activate, the status will now change to Successfully Activated. If the taxpayer or the registered representative authorizes the request to transfer and there are previously submitted returns, the status will change to Authorized. And this will schedule a run after 24 hours to allow the transfer of the historical submission. So now that you have your tax practitioner portfolio set up, you have your new client added on. Now you need to add on users. So basically a user is someone that you're going to invite to work on your portfolio. So this can be an admin clerk, an accounting clerk, it could be a tax manager as well. Okay, so this is a person that will be dealing directly with these clients. You also need to bear in mind that as the person that's receiving the invitation, their e-filing profile has no link to the organized or the tax practitioner portfolio. So what that means is if you are inviting a user, that user will only be able to see what you've given them rights to view. The same can be said for a user. If you're receiving an invite, you will only be able to view what access has been given to you. So what that means is if you are invited to a portfolio, whoever's the person that's inviting you, they will not be able to see your personal income tax. Okay, it's the same like if I invite someone to my portfolio, they will only be able to see what I've given them access to, which means they will not be able to see my personal income tax either. So in order to do this, you click on My Profile, you select Portfolio Management. Okay, you choose the portfolio by clicking Go to Portfolio. So we select the correct portfolio, say Go to Portfolio. Then you click User on the top ribbon. Then you click User again on the left-hand side. And then you click Invite User. So this screen will open up over here. You will have the identification type. So it'll be either passport or ID number. So you would select ID number, you'd fill in the person's details. You will then say invite. Okay, on the next screen, you'd see this is where you can allocate the user rights. So over here, you would allocate user rights, and these are the only things that that person would be able to do. So if you allocate user rights to someone that can only view and submit tax returns, that's all they will be able to do. They will not be able to make payments. They will not be able to request tax clearances. They will only be able to do the submission of returns. If it is that you want to go and change that, after a later stage and give the person perhaps more work to do or delegate more functions to them, you can go back and change the user rights. So it's important to make sure that when you're allocating the user rights, firstly, you're allocating the correct user rights to the correct person for the correct client. So once you've done that, you have selected it in a little tick block. You can then say continue. The status will now show awaiting confirmation. So what will basically happen is that the person you've invited will now receive an email to state that they've been invited to a portfolio and they need to now accept it on their side. So an SMS and an email notification will be sent to the person who has been invited to be a user for the tax practitioner portfolio. So they would log on to their eFiling profile. They select my profile, portfolio management, and then they'll click accept. So what will now happen is the user will receive an OTP, that's a one-time PIN, and they need to insert the last 6 digits of that OTP. Once they've done that, they then click submit. So the message will come up confirming that the portfolio has now successfully been linked, and they can now see the portfolio on the eFiling profile. So what that means is that when they log on to eFiling, they'll see two. They'll see the individual one, and they'll see the tax practitioner portfolio. So if it is that I want to work on my individual tax, I click on Go to Portfolio. If it is that I want to work on the tax practitioner portfolio, I'll click on Go to Portfolio. So you've now successfully invited a user. They can now start transacting on your portfolio as a tax practitioner. Thank you very much. That's the end of Module 6.